It is my favorite time of year. And no, it's not Christmas yet. Now, what is my favorite type of year? If you really know me, what is my favorite type of year? My favorite time of year. Some people say they're Christmas. Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. Not for me, no. I mean, I love Christmas. Don't get me wrong. It's a great holiday. But what I love, what I am very passionate about, is Halloween season in October. My all-time favorite. Now, it used to be when AMC Fear Fest was the go-to for horror movies. Now they replay the same three movies for the entire month. It's so disheartening. They don't play the old stuff. Turner Classic Movies really doesn't do anything anymore with horror movies, which is sad. I remember growing up and used to have the classics on the entire month of October and Turner Classic Movies. And then AMC, you had some of the black and whites, but you had the movies from the 70s, the 80s. You know, it's the same movies over and over again. Like I don't want to see Leprechaun. I'm sorry, I just don't. Is it an okay horror flick? Yes, but I don't need to see Leprechaun 4, 5, 6, 7 because one was enough. Give me some Friday the 13th. Give me some Jason. Give me some Halloween, and give me the good Halloweens. The other day, I don't think they had a Michael Myers marathon, but they didn't show Halloween 2 or 5, which made no sense to me. But And it used to be obviously for Yankee World Series in October. That was my favorite time, but we don't do those anymore. And USC football beating up on people, we don't do that anymore. But the horror movies are still alive. And one thing I'm passionate about is Universal movie monsters. As you can tell by following me on social media, I am a huge Universal movie monster fan. I'm wearing Universal monster movie shirts and this and that and everything, and it's just you know. I love it. I'm very passionate about it. Call me a geek, call me whatever you want, but I absolutely love it. And one movie that I came across the other day, I haven't watched it in some time, and I didn't like it the first time I saw it. I don't want to say I didn't like it, but I was let down from it. And I'll tell you why I was let down from it. It's called House of Dracula, released in 1945. Now, for my Universal movie monster fans out there, can you tell me what the original title was supposed to be for House of Dracula? Does anyone know? Okay, I'll tell you. It was supposed to be not Frankenstein, Wolfman versus Dracula was supposed to be the original one. And it was supposed to be directed by Ford Beebe. And Bela Lugosi was supposed to come back and reprise his role as Dracula because there are some good Draculas out there. Christopher Lee, I thought was great. Dracula with Hammer Horror. But there's only one. There's only one I am Dracula, and it's Bela Lugosi. He is the one, just like Lon Chaney is Wolfman. There are many others. There'll only be one. Frankenstein's monster, Boris Karloff. There have been some others, but there's always one. Invisible Man, Claude Rains. Others after, always one. Okay, those are the standard bears. Those are the guys. Okay. Now, Boris Karloff, he had returned, by the way, for a two film deal only with Universal. And then there were several requests from the censorship board, and the film was put on hold for nearly 6 months. So then it came back into production, and it was had a screenplay by Edward T. Lowe, who he took elements from the Wolfman versus Dracula script while adding in Frankenstein's monster to the plot. So now, okay, I'm intrigued now. Now you have Wolfman and Frankenstein who have been on screen before, and now you're adding Dracula into the mix. Okay, I'm sold. Shut up and give me all your money. Now, when it was Wolfman, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, Bela Lugosi, remember, was Frankenstein's monster, which I had told you I liked his role as the monster, but I just, to me, something looked a little off. Glenn Strange was a very solid Frankenstein's monster. A very solid monster. He wasn't Karloff, but it's like the Three Stooges. Shemp was good. Shemp was Shemp, but then there was Curly. Curly was the guy. Curly was the Three Stooges. Strange was there. He was a very good Frankenstein's monster, but there's only one Karloff. But be that as it may, so Lowe here took elements from what was supposed to be Wolfman versus Dracula, and he added Frankenstein's monster now into the mix. So now, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for anything now. If you could tell me in the 40s that we were gonna have one horror movie with Wolfman, Dracula, and Frankenstein, I'd say okay, let's go. I'm ready. Many of the cast and crew returned that were in House of Frankenstein, and John Carradine came back. He was the role of Count Dracula, and I thought Carradine was another one. He was solid. First off, tremendous actor. And when this man was on the screen, you were just like in awe. He had the look of one of those old time black and white movie actors. John Carradine was just, I mean, amazing. And he was good. He did a really good Count Dracula. He played the role well. Glenn Strange, like I said, came back as the monster, and Lon Chaney Jr. came back as both the Wolfman and Larry Talbot. And once they finished production in, I think it was September of 45, and then they finished on October 24th. I love how films go into production now, and then it's like, 40 years until they're done. But it uses large sections of the music that you've grown to know and love from previous Universal feature films and the footage, the sets, the props. So it's your standard Universal horror movie. You know what music you're gonna get, and you just are like this when you hear it. You're like, now I know I'm watching a black and white, old time Universal monster movie. You absolutely know it. And that's one of the things that I love about it is because you know that, okay, I'm watching a Universal monster movie now because once I hear that music, I know what I'm watching. Okay. Now, the cast. I know Cardine was drag. Well, first off, let me tell you why I was upset about this, okay? So if you watch the trailer and search up on YouTube House of Dracula trailer, okay? And I think I have it up here. So it says one monster would be terrific. It starts off one monster would be terrific, and it has the typical Universal monster movie music. Dun 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 dun. And it hits with that, and then it goes, but here are five monsters to bring you five times the thrill. So now I'm like, wait a second. We're gonna have five monsters in the same film? Let's go. Now, what would my five be? The five. The starting five of Universal movie monsters. Bela Lugosi Dracula. Karloff, Frankenstein's monster. Or you can go Gun Strange. Wolfman. Invisible Man. And then Creature. I'd say Creature from the Black Lagoon, or you throw in Bride of Frankenstein. Because at that point, Lon Chaney Sr. may have passed at that point already. I would have loved to see a collaboration with him and his son in anything like Phantom of the Opera and the Wolfman. But I think he had. Don't quote me, and I'm shocked because I should know this stuff backwards and forwards, being the Universal Monster movie historian that I am. But I'm pretty sure that Lon Chaney Sr. had passed by that time in 45 because he was really sick. I think he was smoking a lot also. So the monsters, all right, they say one, Dracula. Okay, boom. Two, Frankenstein's monster. Okay. Three, the Wolfman. All right, now I'm good. All right, so now who are the next two? Who are the next two? The Mad Doctor. Now, About the Mad Doctor, Onslow Stevens absolutely steals the show. Onslow Stevens, who has a pretty solid resume as an actor. I will tell you, after you watch House of Dracula, and if you don't come out of that movie and tell me that Onslow Stevens killed it and absolutely stole the show, then I don't know what you're watching. He was absolutely incredible in that. One of his finest roles. One of his finest roles. And in the trailer, you have the Mad Doctor. He's like this. He's looking like this with a crazed look in his eye. And the way he transformed into the Mad Doctor. Oh my God. I can't say enough about Onslow Stevens in this flick. He was absolutely incredible. And then they hit you with the fifth one, The Hunchback. Now, I would have loved to see a real hunchback monster or something. So the hunchback in House of Dracula was played by actress Jane Addams, who had a very fine career. And the name was Nina. Nina was an assistant to Dr. Franz Edelman, who was Onslow Stevens, who became the Mad Doctor. And the character was portrayed very sympathetically. So it kind of served as a contrast to more monstrous depictions of hunchbacks. Obviously, you remember the Lon Chaney Sr. Hunchback of Notre Dame. And the thing is, yes, you felt very bad for Chaney Sr.'s character in that film. You felt extremely bad. And the way it was depicted also in movies and books was that the Hunchback was a monster. And I would have loved to see that in this film. Instead, it was, like I said, very sympathetic. It was not your classic horror movie monster. I wouldn't even call it a monster. And the cast, to me, like I said, I thought the cast was solid. You got Chaney Jr. as Talbot and the Wolfman, win. Carradine as Count Dracula, win. Martha O'Driscoll, who was Melissa in this, beautiful, beautiful actress, and she nailed it beautifully. Lionel Atwill was Inspector Holtz, who I thought was okay. I thought he played his role well. Onslow Stevens, like I said, stole the show as Dr. Franz Edelman. Jane Addams as Nina, which was the Hunchback. Glenn Strange as Frankenstein's monster, and that was pretty much it from there. But where do I begin with this movie? I don't. To me, I don't look at it as a horror movie because there's nothing horror about it. You really don't have any scenes in here that I am afraid of. Like there's not anything that I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that I saw that. That's so scary." No, there was nothing scary about it. Was it funny? No. Was it horror? No. I would say it was a good movie with fine actors. And I thought the screenplay was good. I thought the plot and the premise was good. I thought the acting was great. And it's weird because saying all those things, you would think, okay, now the movie should be great. But I still don't come out of that sold. And maybe, like I said, because I was sold in the trailer, five movie monsters. And like I said, you can't even count the Hunchback. It wasn't a monster. She was a sympathetic figure that you felt bad for. Okay, and in those times, they didn't make a girl or a woman scary. They wouldn't. I don't think they would make. I mean, they made the exception for Bride of Frankenstein, but very rarely in those times did you see stuff like that. And like you watch the trailer, and the trailer sells you to a point. And then you watch the film and it's like, okay, well, is this a horror movie? And there really wasn't that much thrilling things either. There was a lot of things that, oh, this is a coincidence. And it became, to me, it became too predictable at times. Like you knew it was what was going to happen. And you see movies and you're like, okay, you know what's going to happen, but you're still wow. You have that wow effect. I didn't get this with this film. I pretty much figured what was going to happen more and more I watched it. And I just was, like I said, I wasn't sold. I wasn't like hit with it. And again, I thought the actors and actresses nailed their roles. Like I told you, I can't say enough about Onslow Stevens. John Carradine did a bang up job as Dracula, but it just doesn't sell me. Like you had, listen, it wasn't back in the day, it wasn't gory. These things were not like bad, but I mean, listen, I was scared as a kid watching Wolfman. There were a few things the other day that I got a few jump scares, like ooh, from the original Wolfman. Like it still gets me. At 35 years old, it still gets me. So, you had those in the original films. You didn't have this in House of Dracula. I felt that they missed the mark on a lot of stuff. There were a few times where I felt like they came back and they dragged things that they should not have dragged. But the premise was good. It was a good plot, but it just doesn't it didn't hit me. And I think why it wasn't received with positive reviews back then is because we all know what we were seeing back then. People were yes, it was becoming passe. At that point, I think it was getting a little tiresome. And maybe horror movie fans were getting a little sick of Dracula, Wolfman. Mummy would have actually been good. Also, now that I think about it, you probably could have found someone to be the Mummy. The Mummy would have been good to be in there, but it just wasn't it. It wasn't like it didn't get you. And this was also the last movie that you had Jack Pierce create the makeup for the Wolfman, Dracula, and Frankenstein's monster because Universal released him in 1947. And Jack Pierce does not get enough credit because the makeup that you saw that Dracula had, that the Chaney and the Wolfman had, that Frankenstein's monster had, that was all Jack Pierce. He was one of the MVPs back in the day of Universal Studio Monsters. He was terrific. And it was unfortunate that Universal let him go. They lost a good one there. And this was kind of to me also the last serious, well, not to me, it's fact. It really is the last time you see these monsters, the original monsters, in a serious role. Chaney comes back in Abbott and Costello Meet the Wolfman, and then Glenn Strange was also in that one as well. Bela comes back as Dracula in there. Great movie, very underrated. The Abbott and Costello Meet the horror movie monsters, the Invisible Man, Mummy, I no, it wasn't Mummy, Jekyll and Hyde. Those were really good movies. Really good. They were funny, but they also got you at some times. It was like, oh wow, okay. Like you had some scares. Those were very well written. Abbott and Costello were hot at the time. That was a really, really clever idea that they had mixing Abbott and Costello with the movie monsters. But House of Dracula in 45, really, that was the last time you saw Frankenstein's monster and Dracula and Wolfman in that original form in a scary, serious setting on screen. So, like I said, I would give it a 6 out of 10. It's a good flick, but if you're expecting like classic Universal movie monster stuff, like what you saw in the original Wolfman, the original Frankenstein, you're not going to get that here. But it's a solid flick with solid acting. I think you'll like it. It's a movie that you can kind of dust off, watch it if you got nothing else going on. But yeah, Onslow Stevens, like I said, you can't tell me you watch that movie, and if you watch that movie, you don't think that Onslow Stevens stole the show, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to film, my friend. Okay, House of Frankenstein. It will be the next movie that we review, and we have to also get into the Hammer horror films as well. So all that's coming up here in October. We have only what 11 days left. My goodness, until it's Halloween, and we have some great content dropping on Halloween. So I can't wait.